Act 1105, College Algebra, Chapter 2, Section 3, Part 2. Okay, this deals basically with using the point slope formula to take information such as 2 points or slope and a point into slope intercept form or standard form, preferably slope intercept form. This first question is example 8 in your textbook. It says find an equation containing the point 2, 3 and negative 4, 5. Well, when we have 2 points, we're going to use point slope, but in order to use point slope, we have to get the slope first. So we use the slope formula. Notice I've labeled the 2 and the 3, x1, y1, the negative 4 and the 5, x2, y2. Put those in the proper places, we get a slope of negative 1/3. Now I can use my point slope formula, which is right here. My slope will go here in place of m. And make sure you understand that you can use either point. You don't have to use this point. You don't have to use this point. You can use either one. I'm going to use, and preferably what you want to do is use the points with the smaller numbers, and if they don't have negatives. So I'm going to use 2, 3. So I come down here, I put negative 1/3 in for m, 3 in for y, 2 in for x. First thing I'm going to do is what we learned in algebra. I'm going to get rid of the fraction. So I'm going to multiply this whole equation by 3. Multiply this by 3, I get 3y. This by 3, I get 9. This by 3, I get negative 1. I don't have to multiply what's in parentheses because this negative 1 is a product of 3 times negative 1/3, which means the negative 1 is already taken into account of them. Distribute the negative 1 to the x minus 2, I get negative x plus 2. I'm going to add the 9 over, divide by 3, and I get my equation of y equals negative 1/3 x plus 11/3. Negative 1/3 is my slope. 11 and 1 are 0, 11/3 is my y-intercept. We also have to look at problems where we're using point slope when we have parallel lines, and say we have the equation of one line but don't have the equation of the parallel lines. Parallel line slopes are always equal. So example 11 in your textbook says find an equation of a line with point 2, negative 3 and parallel to the equation 2x plus y equals 6. Well, the first thing I do is I take 2x plus y equals 6. I subtract the 2x over and get in slope intercept form. I can come over here and I can graph it. I start with 6 at the y-intercept, go down 2 and over 1. There's my line. Here's the point 2, negative 3. And I've drawn in red what should be the line in parallel. What I'm trying to do is find the equation of the red line that's parallel to the black. Because parallel lines have the same slope, when I go to point slope, I'm going to use the negative 2, which was the slope of the line given to me. I'm going to use the point 3 for y and 2 for x. I distribute the negative 2, subtract the 3 over. Here's my equation for the red parallel line. Y equals negative 2x plus 1. And thus this is what I have right here. The other type of problem we can get is dealing with perpendicular lines. The relationship of slopes of perpendicular lines is that if you take 2 perpendicular line slopes and multiply them, you'll get negative 1. Or another way to look at it, they are reciprocals, opposite sign reciprocals of each other. Opposite sign reciprocals. So they are opposite sign reciprocals of each other. That means that if one slope is 1/3, the other slope is negative 3, meaning negative 3 over 1. So you can look at it either way. Remember, when you multiply slopes of perpendicular lines, you will get negative 1, or they are opposite sign reciprocals of each other. Here's example 13. It says find an equation of a line with point 1, negative 2 and perpendicular to x plus 3y equals 6. I'm going to go through the same process. I'm going to take x plus 3y equals 6, subtract the x over, divide by 3. Now I have the equation y equals negative 1/3 x plus 2. I'm going to come down here. I've graphed y equals negative 1/3 x plus 2 in black. Here's the point 1, negative 2. I've drawn a line in red to show that it's perpendicular. Remember, perpendicular lines form right angles. Because the slope of the line I have is negative 1/3, and they're perpendicular, that means the slope I'm going to use is going to be positive, reciprocal of 1/3, which is 3. See how when I multiply negative 1/3 times 3, I'm going to get a negative 1, which is what our rule said. Now I'm going to stick 3 in for my slope, stick 2 in for negative 2 in for y, 1 in for x, distribute the 3, subtract the 2. I find out that my perpendicular line that I'm trying to find has the equation y equals 3x minus 5, which is the red line that I've drawn right here.